Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of TaskHuman Talks. I am your host and fellow wellness provider, Jamie Carroll. And today I have got Jeanette. She is calling in from Africa. Welcome, Jeanette. I'm so happy to have you with me today.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited. So, Jeanette is a goal setting, leadership, time management, and emotional intelligence coach. And what I'm really excited about this episode is we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions in this and goal setting and how we can really make the best out of that time. So, this is a busy, crazy time for people. And something that most people do is set New Year's resolutions. So, as we move into 2023, figuring out like goals, where do you want your life to go in 2023? But we found that most people don't stick to their New Year's resolutions, right? And I think I read a study where about 80% of people did not keep their resolutions. So we want to dive into this. Why are they set up for failure so much? Why do you think 80% of people are not honoring their New Year's resolutions throughout the year? What are your thoughts on this, Jeanette?
Well, you're absolutely right. By mid-January, about a quarter of New Year's resolutions will be broken. And then by
Wow.
mid-February, as you said, about 80% of us will have fallen off track. So the stats for successful resolutions aren't great, unfortunately. And it's not really about willpower, which most of us might think that.
Yeah.
And I believe it's usually because, we're just not ready to make that change, or maybe
Mm,
because we don't have a meaningful motivation, or
okay.
we're just setting very vague and unrealistic goals.
Yeah. Yeah, you're so right. So I know a lot, like a big one, I feel like for every New Year's is weight loss, right? And this is more of an outcome goal, right? And I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but outcome goals versus process goals. Like, do you think, a weight loss, I want to like do something. We're thinking about like the end range thing that we want, or do you think this is a problem that gets in the way of these New Year's resolutions?
Yeah, and back to my original point about sort of one of the main reasons is that we're not ready to make that change. So it's not
Okay.
enough that, we say we want to lose weight, right? Like
Yeah.
change is hard. It's not a one-time event. There's not like magic, fairy godmothers who's going to sort of transform us on the stroke of midnight to, losing weight or being a marathon runner, right? Like change is not a one-time event. It takes planning,
Yeah.
commitment, and effort. And as you said, it's a process. So a lot of that is, the outcome goal of, I want to lose 20 pounds.
Okay.
That's great in terms of, giving us that destination and direction and that inspiration. But
Yeah.
motivation, it can come and go and it can change on an hourly basis. So what we actually need to do is actually make concrete plans on how we're going to lose weight. What are we going to be doing in terms of our meal planning, our exercise regime, and most importantly, we need to figure out how will we recover from setbacks and plan for obstacles like how am I going to exercise when I'm traveling or when I'm working on a big project. So
Mm,
we got to figure out like how do I stay to my it's easy when things are going well, but it's under stress or tight deadlines. So it's really about being compassionate with ourselves when we falter, and we're human, so we will fall off track occasionally. But it's important to not cheat for more than one day. So Matt Davella has this 2-day rule where we can
mm.
have one off day from eating healthy. So you can, gorge on your pizza and hamburgers, but don't have 2 cheat days in a row.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah, and Nelson Mandela said, "Don't judge me by my success. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again."
Oh,
So
I
the
love
suggestion
that.
really, yeah, it's about starting your goal when you're ready and when you've made the detailed plans, including steps to pick yourself up after you've fallen off track. Because odds are most of the time you might have a cheat day or an off day, and that's okay. Just being
Yeah.
compassionate with ourselves and say, it's okay, I had ice cream today, not scolding ourselves and say, oh, I give up. What's the point? I failed.
Yeah. Or shaming ourselves. That's a big one that can, yeah. I love that. So it's more about like setting the plans, setting
Yeah.
the steps that you're going to do to get to the big goal that you actually want. That's a piece that most people will miss.
Yeah. And what's really
Yeah.
also important about that process goal is that it's more empowering because we can't
Yeah.
always control the outcome. So one of my clients had an outcome goal of bringing in, more sales. And
Yep.
one of his process goals was going to one networking event and speaking to 5 people every week.
Okay.
That's totally within his control and achievable. And he feels empowered. He's done that, and it feels like I can keep going because I'm motivated. I've achieved something. Our dopamine, the reward center in our brain, gets that sort of feeling. Oh wow,
Yeah.
I've been successful. Whereas trying to focus on X% revenue increase, it might be outside his control. It could be the economy, the pandemic. So having that process goal is very empowering for him. So I can do one event per week. I can call 5 people. So
Yeah.
that to me is what actually will keep that motivation going and continue our process for the long term.
I love that. Okay. So what else? I know you had mentioned two others, right? So
Yeah.
one is we're not ready to make change. What's the next one?
So the next one is like we may not have a meaningful motivation or a
Mhm.
powerful why behind our goal. So, what's the driving force behind wanting to lose weight? Oh, the doctor said I have to lose weight and reduce my LDL cholesterol. That's not very motivating, right? Like we've all been
No.
teenagers and we remember when our parents nagged us to do things we don't want to do. It's not very motivating. So what makes you want to reduce cholesterol? What's the purpose or desire behind it?
Hmm.
Someone with kids may say, so I can play with my children and watch them grow up, which is much more meaningful than lowering my LDL numbers.
Yes.
Right? So it's that emotion that
Yeah.
gets us to take action.
Okay.
Stanford behavioral scientist BJ Fogg says, like, emotion is the thing that forms the habit, not willpower or discipline. If we feel good doing something and feel like we've been successful, our brains will wire that activity as a habit and make us feel like we want to continue with that.
I love that you're saying this. I just want to pause for a second too, because we often hear this. Oh, I just don't have the motivation to work out. I just don't have the motivation. And we're looking for motivation somewhere. But that's
Yeah,
not how it works. It's like once you start taking those baby steps or once you start doing it, that's where the motivation actually comes from. So if you're sitting
exactly.
around waiting for motivation, you're not going to find it. You've got to get in it. And then that motivation kind of sparks through you.
Exactly. And I'll talk about the James Clear's habit in a minute.
Okay.
With respect to motivation, it's really about asking, what is the motivation behind this goal? And what makes that important to you right now? One
Okay.
of my favorite quotes is how some people have thousands of reasons why they can't do something,
Yeah.
when all they need is one reason why they can. So
Mm.
find your why behind that goal.
What was number three?
Number three, so a lot of times resolutions don't pan out because they're too vague or unrealistic. The word
Okay.
itself, like resolution, means, a firm decision to do something, like I want to get fit or exercise more.
Yeah.
But, what does more mean? Like, how will you know when you become fit, right? I prefer the word goal, which refers to a result that we want,
Okay.
which is more concrete. And my suggestion is to set SMART goals, which we've all heard of before, right? Like specific, measurable, achievable, relevant to our life or career goals, and time
Mhm.
bound with timelines.
Okay.
So instead of saying, I need to exercise more, or something unrealistic like, I'm going to run a marathon when I've been a couch potato and never run before, say, I will jog for 10 minutes Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays after work for 1 month. And then the next month, slowly increase, the time or the distance. So
Yeah.
ideally, the goal should be expanding and updated along the way. And that's why shorter goals over 1 or 3 months might work better than a resolution for the whole year. And what's important is chunking it down to like micro goals, or what the BJ Fogg calls tiny habits. It makes
Mm.
it more achievable than going to 30 minutes straight away when you've never run before.
Yeah.
Like that little baby step will increase the dopamine, the feel good hormone in the reward center of our brain, and motivate us to continue. Because
Okay.
the hardest part is getting started.
Right.
And once we get started, the momentum will build. Like when I think about exercising for an hour, I'm like, oh my God, that's just too much. I'm too tired, right? But when you say, okay, I'll go 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes turns into 10, into 30, and then an hour later, we've done the whole 1 hour. But if I said I have to walk 1 hour, it's like I feel so overwhelmed. So that
Right.
that chunking down into the tiny little habits makes us feel like it's doable. I can do that. I can do 5 minutes.
I like that. And I like that that you mentioned readdressing. right? So it's like, okay, for 1 month, I'm just going to do this. And then once the month is over, you're going back to it. And I think a lot of times we miss that opportunity as well because we think, oh, I'm just setting this big one-time New Year's Eve goal. And then, oh, it doesn't happen. So now I just give up. Running isn't for me.
Yeah,
I just can't do that. I can't lose weight. Well, I'm just going back to my old eating habits or whatever it is.
exactly. And goals change, like life changes. Things happen
Yeah,
all the time. You might get an injury, something else happens, and you might want to do
right.
cycling instead. And that's okay. And that's important to keep revising it and
Yes,
be compassionate to yourself if you do falter. It's okay, it's a cheat day, but don't take, 2 days off your goal. Otherwise, it's easier to fall off track.
exactly. Exactly. I love this. Okay. So was there anything else that gets in the way, or these are the main three?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean that going back to what we talked about, that the process
Yeah,
is creating that right environment, right? So like in
right.
his book Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about the 4 stages of creating a habit, right? So the process includes cues, craving, response, and reward. So, pick up the goal of like exercising every day. The cue is what triggers us to do something. So we should make them obvious, like putting the running shoes in the hallway. So when I come home from work, I see the running shoes that act as a visual cue. Oh, I need to go running. Or
Yeah.
like I do this all the time, diarizing, pop-ups on my calendar. Nothing will get
Uh,
done if I don't have a pop-up on my calendar
yes.
telling me to exercise, right? Um, the craving is like the motivation or desire. So, we can make exercise more fun if we plan a walking meetup with friends.
Okay.
The response is the action. So make it easy. I'm much more likely to go for a bike ride on my own time as opposed to going to yoga class at a set time, 30-minute drive away. So I
Right.
know if I pick something easy that's achievable, then I'm more likely to actually follow through with it.
Okay.
And finally, reward is the satisfaction that we get from taking action. So for me, going to the gym is like a bit blah, like not exciting
Mm-hmm.
at all. No
Mm-hmm.
offense to any sort of gym buddies. Whereas like I love walking on the beach and hiking. So like
Yeah.
those are actions I'll do again. Whereas if you say go to the gym, I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to exercise. So really
Right.
that process is really about designing our environment so that we can take our actions and it makes the goal much more attractive and motivating.
Awesome. I love it. So, all right. So let's kind of like wrap this up. New ways to begin setting New Year's resolutions. Were those kind of the steps that you were just going through? Like, what exactly do people need to start thinking about? I think it's important almost to start with the main goal, but then chunk it back.
Yeah.
It's almost like going through the steps one, two, and three, too, that you mentioned. Like, what's your big goal, but what's the plan? How are you going to get there? What's month one? Any other ideas for people so we can really set it down into like a do this, do this, do this?
Yeah, totally. And going back to what you said about month one, the other thing to keep in mind is that on average, it takes 66 days for a new behavior to become a habit. So again, like planning for the first, 66 days, the first 2 months is really important, knowing that I might fall backwards a little
Right.
bit, and pick ourselves up, plan for those setbacks, and that'll help you a lot in sort of sticking through it. And like phrasing the goals in the positive, like
Yeah.
starting something instead of stopping something. So instead of saying, I'm going to stop snacking on junk food, say, I'll start snacking on carrot sticks. And which
Mm,
studies have found to be significantly more successful because
yeah.
the stop goals backfire. What are you going to be thinking about when you say stop eating chips?
Chips.
Chips. Right? So just thinking about like what you should be doing instead of like, don't eat chips, just say, well, I'm gonna eat carrot
Right.
sticks instead. Right?
I love
So
that.
little sort of like little tweaks that we can do. And BJ Fogg talks about that. I mentioned that the tiny habits,
Hmm.
what are the things that you can do, small baby steps that can be done in 2 minutes that you can anchor or stack onto an existing habit. So we all have, coffee or tea in the morning, right? So that's
Yep.
the existing habit. So if your goal is to do, more exercise throughout the day, while your kettle is boiling, do 10 push-ups. So you're
Mm,
stacking that new push-up habit onto the existing tea habit. And that acts as the cue, right? Oh, boiling kettle. Okay, good. It's time to do some push-ups.
what's so important is to start thinking about these New Year's resolutions just in a different way. Because so many times we do things just to do them in
Yeah.
society and in the world, right? Oh, it's New Year's Eve, better set a goal. We're not even like really in it. Like you mentioned, having that emotional connection, the meaningful motivation, we just lose it because we're like, oh, I better set a New Year's goal. Oh, yeah, weight loss. Yeah, I'm going to run more.
Yeah. Yeah.
we're just disconnected. We're not thinking about it. So this process is a way to really get emotionally invested and do it for yourself, not doing it because this is what I'm supposed to do.
Exactly. Do what works for you. There's a societal pressure. Oh no, we have to have New Year's resolutions.
Yeah,
If you're not ready to make that change, you're just not going to do it. And that's going to be so demotivating and demoralizing. You're going to feel bad about yourself.
right.
Oh, I didn't follow through with it. So that, as you said, the shame that you feel, right? So it's really
Yeah,
important to that is meaningful for you, like finding that why behind your goal,
right.
right?
Yeah, it's like
And
that's
then,
where your own self-sabotage can come in,
yeah.
right? Where we might blame outside circumstances for something we're not achieving, but it's really like we're just not ready. Maybe we don't want to, and that's okay. Like really getting crystal clear on all of that.
Exactly. And and even just like rewarding yourself with your little achievements that, offer
Yeah,
conditioning theory talks about positive reinforcement. So, if we have positive reinforcement, we're more likely to repeat that behavior, even if it's just patting ourselves on the back. Great job. I
yeah,
went to the gym today, like I didn't want to, but I did. And it increases that intrinsic motivation, that
yeah.
emotional connection. We feel good and that dopamine, right? So it makes it more likely to actually repeat that behavior.
Yes, absolutely. I love this. Um, One thing I want to share too, Jenna, I want to share this with you and everybody that's listening is one thing I love to do for New Year's resolutions is setting an intention, a theme word for the year that I like. How do I want to show up in the world? Who do I want to be? What's the energy I'm stepping into? And I highly recommend writing them down. Acceptance as another
Mm.
one, flow, partnership, and it's so funny because when I really see these words written down, like I've seen every single thing actually align by the end of the year. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was in flow. Oh my gosh, I was like accepting things that were coming into my life. Oh my gosh, abundance. I really felt abundant throughout the year. So that's just another way that you could think about setting resolution goals as well for as we step into 2023 also just like a different idea.
Exactly. I love that, and like that intention or theme, it's like a mantra, like a
Yeah,
guiding, like you said, abundance,
exactly.
acceptance, picking a word that reminds us of what's important to us, right? And
Right.
it creates self-awareness about, what is meaningful for me? What is my value? And some
Yes.
people actually put their theme onto a vision board. So it can be like,
Yep.
freedom, inner peace, joy. And actually, you said acceptance, that's my word for this year as well.
Oh, I
I'm
love it.
dealing with right now. Yeah, I'm dealing with chronic health issues, and it's so important for
Okay.
me to accept this phase in my life, the ups
Yes.
and downs. And I've already started using that word like this week, and I felt acceptance, and it just changes the feeling right away. And I felt, you know what, like, just gave me a feeling of calm, of inner peace,
I love that.
which is that the process, the outcome goal, right? But then the process is
Yes.
just that one word. Yeah,
And you know what? I'm kind of getting an idea here. So, a great thing for all of you guys that are listening, we can kind of combine these two things. So, everything Jeanette was just talking about, and then the theme word of your year as well, right? So, you think about maybe that big goal that you want, right? And then you're chunking it down into a 66-day new behavior, right? What are ways you're going to allow yourself to address it every few months, maybe with a coach,
yeah,
right? And then you're connecting to the emotion of it. Why is this your goal? And really making sure you're not being too vague. So you're really getting specific. And that's where the chunking down really comes in. But really, it's about how is this going to make you feel when you achieve this? What is it that's what you're really after? And then from there you create your theme word for the year, and that can be something you put on your bathroom mirror, and like anytime you're feeling frustrated you go back to that word, and that might trigger that where you're like, oh yeah, I am going to reach for the carrot sticks today because I want to feel light and free, and that's your word, and you just go back to that. I love this.
yeah. I love that. I love that. And then that's the thing, right? It's like if that's your why. You look at this picture, the
Yes.
vision board of your freedom, of gratitude, or whatever it is, and that's what you're aspiring to. And that change is hard. So you're going to be going through, the exercise regime or eating healthy. You're going to be miserable and it's tough. But then when you look at that vision board or that theme, think, you know what? That's
Mhm.
my why. And that's my emotional connection. As
Yes.
BJ Fox, what's going to help us create that habit and motivate us to keep going?
Yes.
And you mentioned the coach. I mean, research has shown that if we have an accountability partner, like a coach or a friend, who asks us, how's your goal going of weight loss or
Yeah.
whatever, we're almost 4 times more likely to
Wow.
achieve that goal. Yes. So tell people about your plan to take that course or to apply for that promotion. Because if you know you're going to meet up with your friend who's going to say, hey, did you take that course yet? Or hey, did you actually, start doing whatever you said you told me you were doing?
Hmm.
That'll make us more motivated to do it. And as you said, that's probably why, coaching is so effective. Some of
So
my
effective.
clients only get their action items done just because they know I'm going to be
Yeah.
asking them about it on our call. And that gets them motivated to do it because they have to be accountable to someone.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love that. Okay, amazing. Well, one thing I always like to ask coaches during these talks is how are you walking your talk as a coach? So maybe in this case, how are you making your own New Year's resolutions, or how are you going to be doing that this year?
Great question. You got to make sure I'm practicing what I
Yeah.
preach, right? Well, actually, I'm always my first client because I don't usually recommend anything I don't believe in. So, like the
Right.
James Clear's, like the four stages of habit creation, those are like my own examples, right?
I
Like
love it.
I
Yeah.
would never get anything done without my calendar popping up with reminders,
Right.
or I wouldn't exercise if it wasn't something I enjoyed. Like going to the gym, I never succeeded very much because it wasn't
Mm,
exciting for me. Whereas going hiking or yoga, you know what I mean? Like that's something I
yeah.
really enjoy. Smart goals. Oh gosh, I have like different, like very full documents,
Mm,
setting out my SMART goals, and then looking at setbacks, like what's going to hold me back? What are the obstacles I
yeah.
foresee happening? And what am I going to do? Right. That's really important. Whether it's, meal planning or my professional career goals, that's really important to say, what's visualizing what could potentially set me back from my goal. And what am I
Yeah.
going to do to overcome it? Right. And whether it's getting help like from a friend or hiring somebody to help you, or just saying, like, let's revisit this goal. Is it important in March?
Yeah.
You're constantly revising that. And
Right.
habit stacking, I'm really a big fan of that push-ups while the kettle is
Yes.
boiling. That's my
Yeah.
example. so
I
so
love
yeah,
it.
I think I'm walking my talk.
Yes, I love it. You so are amazing. Well, thank you so much, Jeanette, for this chat with me today. This has been amazing. Is there anything else you want to share before we just wrap up?
I guess maybe one like fun idea is the bucket list. You're talking about different ideas for
Yeah.
resolutions. So like a bucket list for 2023, right? So it could
Uh-huh.
be like trips you
Love
want to
that.
take or activities you want to do or things you want to achieve. It's kind of like just a fun way to get maybe even your family or friends involved, like doing a
I
vision board
love
or just
that.
kind of coming up with like some fun goals, not just, oh, I have to lose weight or I have to get that
Yeah.
promotion or take that course, but making it like a fun list of stuff that you want to do this year.
I love that. Oh, so glad we ended on that. So if you are out there listening to this, we can't wait to hear what your New Year's resolutions goals are going to be. So you can find Jeanette on the app. You can find me on the app. We'd love for you guys to message us and just share those goals with us. That would be so much fun. And of course, if you're looking for more accountability and you need help with your goal setting, you need help with time management, anything like that, make sure you find Jeanette on the app, send her a message, just book a call with her. She is amazing, as you can see, and was happy to help you in that area. So thank you so much. That's it for today. And we look forward to hearing your goals. Thanks, Jeanette.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed our talk.
Yes.
I hope it
All
helps
right.
people to set and achieve their SMART goals.
Yes, absolutely. We can't wait to hear about them. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.